Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Gurudev, 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 Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Kodanitai, Maya Po Shashi, Kodanitai, Maya Po Shashi. Nitai Goda Haribo, 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 Goda Haribo, Nitai Goda Haribo. ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki, Shri Prabhupada ki, Shishiko Nitai Maya Pashashi ki, Gaura Premanandi, Haribo. Reading from the Nectar of the Bush by Srila Goswami Prabhupada. We're going to dive into the nectar. Dive into. Anyone know what the name is? You said it. So you want to cook it? Hey. I was told to come and die in class. So, Srila Goswami Prabhupada. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavtam, 20th chapter, verse 34, Lord Krishna says to Uddhava, "My dear Uddhava, the devotees who have completely taken shelter of my service are so steadfast in devotional service that they have no other desire than to be at the morning program, even if they are offered 4 kinds of spiritual opulences. They will refuse to accept them. So what to speak of their desiring anything within the material world?" Similarly, Lord Krishna says in another passage of the Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 14, "My dear Uddhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought and activities does not aspire even to occupy the post of Brahma, or the post of Indra, or the post of lordship over the planets, or the 8 kinds of mystic perfections, or even liberation itself." So that's interesting that Krishna says, "My dear Uddhava, a person whose consciousness is completely absorbed in my thought." Isn't that interesting? Yeah, in my thought. To be absorbed in Krishna's thought. I wonder, what does that mean, to be absorbed in Krishna's thought? To think of things as Krishna would think of them? My thought. How is Krishna thinking about us right now? Interesting. In the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th chapter, verse 6, Lord Shiva says to Devi, "My dear Devi, the great Brahmin sage Markandeya has attained unflinching faith and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such he does not aspire after any benedictions, including liberation from the material world. So Markandeya, he was alive during the devastation, because he was such a great devotee. He got that benediction that when everybody else died, he would stay alive. So he's floating around in the water, and he was getting bashed about. Can you imagine? It's quite a formidable, quite a big ocean. And then he saw Krishna on a banyan leaf, sucking his toe, and then he became free of all fear and pain. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 7, What Prahlad learned in the Womb, Text 38. Ko ti priyaso sura balaka hare. Ko ti priyaso sura balaka hare. Upasane Sway Hridi Chidravat Sata. Upasane Sway Hridi Chidravat Sata. Swasyatmana Sakyo Ashesha Dehanam. Swasyatmana Sakyo Ashesha Dehanam. Samanyata Kim Vishayopapadanaya. Samanyata Kim Vishayopapadanaya. Koti Priyaso Surabalaka Hare. Upasane Sway Hriday Chidravatsata. Swasyatmana Sakyo Ashesha Dehana. Samanyata Kim Vishayo Papadanai. Koti Priyaso Surabalaka Hare. Upasane Sway Hriday Chidravatsata. Swasyatmana Sakyo Ashesha Dehana. Samanyata Kim Vishayo Papadanai. Koti Prayaso Surabalaka Hare. Upasane Sway Hriday Chidravatsata. Swasyatmana Sakya Ashesha Dehana. Samanyata Kim Vishayo Papadanai. Koti Prayaso Surabalaka Hare. Upasane Sway Hriday Chidravatsata. Swasyatmana Sakyo Ashesha Dehana. Samanyata kim vishayopapadanai. Ka wa ati prayasa. Difficult endeavor. Asura balaka. O sons of demons. Hare of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Upasane, in discharging the devotional service. Sway, in one's own. Hridi, core of the heart. Chidravat, just like the space. Sata, who always exists. Swajya, of oneself or of the living entity. Atmana, of the supersoul. Sakyu, of the well-wishing friend. Ashesha, unlimited. Dehanam, of the embodied souls. Samanyata, generally. Kim, what is the need? Vishaya upapadanai, with activities delivering the objects of the senses for sense enjoyment. Translation: O my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his Supersoul feature, always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, he is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshipping the Lord. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? Responsibly, please. O my friends, sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his Supersoul feature, always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, he is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshipping the Lord. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? But by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because the personality of God is supreme, no one is equal to him and no one is greater than him. Nonetheless, if one is a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is easily obtainable. The Lord is compared to the sky because the sky is vast, yet within the reach of all, not only of human beings, but even of the animals. The Supreme Lord, in his Paramatma feature, exists as the best well-wisher and friend, as confirmed in the Vedas. Sayujo Sakayo, the Lord, in his Supersoul feature, always stays in the heart along with the living entity. The Lord is so friendly to the living entity that he remains within the heart so that one can always contact him without difficulty. One can do this simply by devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. As soon as one hears of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna Kirtan, one immediately comes in touch with the Lord. A devotee immediately comes in touch with the Lord by any of the items of devotional service: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dashyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. Therefore, there is no difficulty in coming in contact with the Supreme Lord. Koti Prayasa. On the other hand, going to hell requires great endeavor. If one wants to go to hell by illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, he must acquire so many things. For illicit sex, he must arrange for money. For brothels, for meat eating, he must arrange for many slaughterhouses. For gambling, he must arrange for casinos and hotels. And for intoxication, he must open many breweries. Clearly, therefore, if one wants to go to hell, he must endeavor very much. But if he wants to return home back to Godhead, there is no difficult endeavor to go back to Godhead. One may live alone anywhere in any condition and simply sit down, meditate upon the Supersoul, and chant and hear about the Lord. Thus, there is no difficulty in approaching the Lord. Adanta Gobev Vishatam Tamishram. Because of inability to control the senses, one must go through great endeavor to go to hell. But if one is sensible, he can very easily obtain the favor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead because the Lord is always with him. By the simple method of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, the Lord is satisfied. Indeed, the Lord says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Priyachati Tadaham Bhakti Uparitam Asnami Prayatatmana. If one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Bhagavad Gita 9:26. One can meditate upon the Lord anywhere and everywhere. Thus, Prahlad Maharaj advised his friends, the sons of the demons, to take this path back home, back to Godhead, without difficulty. Om Agyanatimiranda Shagananyana Shalakaya Chakshun Manitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhattarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha paritanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So, Prahlad is telling his friends, he's explaining again about the Supersoul in the heart, and that the Supersoul is the well-wishing friend of all living entities, and that there is no difficulty in worshipping the Lord. Why should we not then engage, rather than being addicted to producing paraphernalia for sense gratification? So Prabhupada clarifies what unnecessary paraphernalia for sense gratification is in the purport. He refers to brothels, slaughterhouses, casinos, hotels, and breweries. That's a lot of, if you added all that up in the annual expenditure of the country, how much expenditure must go not only on the buildings and all the bottles and the transportation and the advertising that goes on, and then all the side effects, the diseases, the mental illnesses, so many other problems. And I mean, how much percentage of the human endeavor is being distracted? And then if you think about it, instead there could be, imagine all that money and endeavor being used to make parks and beautiful museums where you can go and see edifying objects to inspire the human being to become a better person. And it's all just becoming what's going to be good for economical gain. Okay, we get this stuff, we get people addicted to it, and then we make a load of money, and then everyone goes to hell. And there's only a few people that make the money. Everybody else is losing money on it, losing money, time, energy to go to hell. Of course, it's Kali Yuga, so Kali Yuga is in Kali Yuga the 4 activities are empowered. Hiranyakashipu sits him down. My dear boy, what have you learned? What have your teachers told you? What's the best thing you've learned? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Savanam. So, not only was Prahlad fearless of preaching to his father, he's not got any problem at all with his classmates. And because they're young and impressionable, and before they become too conditioned and trained into the whole process of sense gratification, they can have these wonderful instructions. What happens with this? And otherwise, repeat this. I can't repeat it. It's just too difficult. It's very hard. It's been very hard not to break the principles. And although it seems easier to give up, it's leaving you easy. But that's the nature of the religion. Would you like to use this? So the pure devotee sees things very clearly. So Prabhupada's warning us to see things clearly, to see what's clearly. Why would we do that? Because we're lazy, misguided, and lucky, and above all, always disturbed. There's two ways you can do devotional service. You can do it devotionally, or you can do it lazily. If you do it lazily, the minimum amount of energy that you can expend. You won't feel that feeling that you feel when you've done something really devotionally. So in the heart. We want the easy path. When Rupa Swami is asking Utsamai, Utsamai is false. It's real enthusiasm. You can't be visible. Have you ever seen anybody visible and enthusiastic? Doing some real enthusiasm. Really visible. You're going to do it, you're going to feel it. Enthusiastic. You find it so happy to become enthusiastic. You feel happy as well. But he's saying, looks at him, mystery, I'll tell you. That you to be joyful. But then you're supposed to call me out on doing that. Suppose how can you expect enough to look at the weather? No, you couldn't look at it, you couldn't. There was one man who used to hit his wife. I'll tell you what, when you go to the parliament, you're blaming your wife, but you choose to, because you wouldn't if you're going to get $1 million. So a lot of the things that we do, we actually choose to do them. So we're being asked to choose to do things joyfully, to do things devotionally. And if we don't, then we can't blame anybody else but ourselves. Nobody else's fault. You can try and blame somebody else for how you've made that choice, but you'll get the reaction because you made the choice. You can't blame somebody. When you face your reactions, the reactions are coming because of choices that you've made. You may not want to accept that you've made the choice. But then if you don't want to make the choice, or you don't accept that you have the freedom of choice, if you want instead freedom of choice, freedom from choice, you've got two choices: freedom of choice or freedom from choice. So if you don't want freedom of choice, freedom from choice means animal body. Then you can be an animal, because you'll never see a dog up in court, right? For how do you plead? You've been found stealing sausages. How do you plead? Woof. One woof for innocent, two woofs for, because everyone knows the dog hasn't got freedom of choice. It's just doing whatever it's doing. So if the human being resents having freedom of choice and he wants freedom from choice, then he's asking for an animal birth in his next life. So it's better to just accept that you do have the power of choice. And when you start taking the blame, that's when you get back your power of choice. As long as you're always blaming, then you're trying to get free from anybody blaming you, that it was your choice, that you made the choice, that it was your fault, it was your karma. It was you. No, don't blame me. Okay, then be an animal. Become an animal. Any questions or comments? Yes. There you go. That's a good question. Anyone else? Because it's also said if you want to just slide out and give into your senses, it would seem it would be easier to go to hell. But then you could qualify. Well, what does easier mean? It's like you're on a slope, right? And the slope's got all these razor blades, and you can walk up the slope. It's a slippery slope, and you have to cling on, and it's really painful. And it seems like it would be easier to just let yourself go. But if you let yourself go, sliding down the slope, what's going to happen? You're going to get cut to ribbons. So it seems easier, but the consequences are more painful. You're going down a river in a canoe, and it seems easier just to go with the current. But at the end of the river is a massive waterfall. So to back paddle is going to be more painful, but it's going to be easier than going over that waterfall in the long run. Yeah. Yeah, somebody was making a point as well, because in your innocence, you're not so inclined towards sinful activity. It has to be promoted. Meat eating, illicit sex, intoxication, gambling. It's all heavily advertised. It's very much promoted. Now, it wouldn't need to be promoted. Like, you don't see so many advertisements for bottles of milk and loaves and butter, because you're going to go down and get them anyway, right? But to do simple things, it has to be promoted, you know. Yeah, you want to try, get into this. This is it. You know, this is where it's at. If you don't, you're a total numpty. Come on, get one of these. Smoke this. Be a tough guy. You wouldn't have to do that with a block of butter. Right? Get this block of butter. Oh, you're a total numpty. Eh? Get this butter on your bread. It's so good. You'll be wicked when you eat this butter. You have to be promoted to sinful activity, heavily advertised. Because you know, when you're a kid, I remember the first time I smoked a cigarette, it was really disgusting, you know. Like, why would you want to do that, you know? And then someone said, you're supposed to breathe it in. Because I was like, and everybody was laughing at me, you know. And I was thinking, breathe it in? What do you want to breathe it in for? He's going to kill you if you breathe it in. So it has to be promoted. You have to see people breathing it in. Oh, okay. So that's what you do if you want to be a tough guy, you know. Heavily, I mean, when we talk about advertising, what is advertising? It means conditioning people. When you look in a newspaper and you've seen 50,000 times that someone's been stabbed, then it's advertising that it's okay to do that. Why would you be making that public information? Why would you be promoting that activity? So, you know, we're becoming a little bit aloof from all of that and a little bit free of the influence. And then we're trying to help other people to do the same, you know. Come into our sacred space. Om Sweet Om Satik. We're inviting you into this sacred space. We're going to be chanting mantras. We're not going to be thinking about buying cigars or any weird stuff that's going on or sinful activity. Come into our sacred space and share this purity, this bliss that we're experiencing. And start to take up our lifestyle, you know. We're emblems of goodwill. We're ambassadors of goodwill. We're showing everybody this works. You know, we don't do this stuff. And we're great. We're really going places. We're becoming freer of the fear of death. We're becoming more joyful. We're becoming more aware that this is real and that what you're doing is illusion. And isn't it a shame that as people are going on, they're trying so hard to avoid the reality that it's an illusion. It's like they're all in the desert trying to drink the water and make out the fun, you know. I'm in this mirage and this water is amazing. And but everyone's really just like they said the king was naked, right? Everybody was pretending he wasn't. And then one boy said the king is naked. So Prabhupada came over and he said, everyone's suffering. And they were like, well, actually, it's a fact. I am suffering. You know? And everybody just starts laughing because the king is naked. Prabhupada says, you are suffering. It's miserable. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Ishan from the Haribol. Nice to see you. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have 24 hours. You have to look at them and see how do I best engage them. I will need some of those hours to sleep. I will need some of those hours to rest the body. They kind of for a while. Light the fire again. So that it just prolongs the agony, because we want a blazing fire. We want a blazing fire. So next we try and lay off the water. Need to tell you something for you. People want to do this. We become principle orientated, proactive rather than reactive. So reactive is lazy. So that's how we deal with it. Telling me once, being Shiv Rama just said, he sees the way he behaves. He says one thing about Maharaj is he's always pushing whatever it is. Like if he swims 3 lengths and he goes in the pool the next day, he's going to do 4 lengths. He's pushing beyond the boundary, you know. So with us also, how do we go from maybe not becoming totally enthusiastic and fired up all the time, but how can we actually know that that's lazy? And untidiness is also laziness. Our living thought is tidy. We get micro and keeping the place tidy and clean, and that will automatically reduce laziness. Laziness is a symptom of motive ignorance. And if you're tidy and you're clean, you've done the way you put it, organized, systematic, so that everything goes smoothly. It's going to be really difficult. Say you're a lazy person, it's just going to be really you can't get to the 4th floor. You've got to go to the 2nd, go to passion, then the 3rd, go to goodness, and then you can go on the 4th floor. And then you can go, well, I'm going to circumvent those floors. I'm just going to go from the mode of ignorance. Doesn't work. No. Scientific. And the devotional service by being enthusiastic and keeping laziness comes from how to never leave the Any other questions? The Lord is compared to the sky because the sky is vast and within the reach of all, even animals, and human beings are animals. And in the Vedas it is said that the Lord, because the Lord is in the heart, that is everyone's friend. Sayusha, Sathaya. The useful, the super you're so friendly that you relate to it in the heart. Like with us, right? When you get credit for somebody, you get your attention. The super soul never takes everything. The end of the creation, actually, and that's against my daughter. So, and it's like these intimate connections, even though we're using it. And it's funny that when I was around, I used to go along to Sunday school. Most of it, they were talking off. What's this idea of kind of definition of that? If you don't get it right, it's like just switch yourself. Great. Nobody can say because you will listen. It doesn't make enough for us. This is like one or two widows that I just never. Okay, let's got it. I'm telling you that can you just go so that's also how we push through the Maya to recognize that it is using solve the problem. Let's say you have to build. then what if you take so you don't understand. So sound vibration of the Maha Mantra, it's all, it's all. You're there, you're there, you're honest. You don't see your destiny of peace. It's like if you have a coconut and you leave it long enough, the flesh contracts and you finish the coconut. The thing, the coconut. Something to fill all your veins or in the body. Probably in the city, you need to speak that part of that. So there's no difficulty in contact. It's not a bit ongoing how we try to do it. To go back and forth, below, anywhere, anything. It's a book is just always different. If you become conscious, not to and then you're passing along. So all the difficulties. Overall. That's what that's the boost. It's very useful to just offer. Any questions? Okay, thank you. It's not really in the key. Shouldn't pop on key.